All right, we'll get started. Councilor Leahy did text me. He is on the pike trying to get here, so he will be a couple minutes late. So with that, we'll try and start just a couple minutes after. Make a motion to open the Finance Committee meeting for September 21st, 2016 at 6 o'clock. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? With me are Councilor Bacon, Councilor Tallman, Councilor Lopez, Councilor McGee. As I said, Councilor Leahy is on the way, just stuck on the pike. With that, we'll just go right down the agenda. And tonight's mission was just to get the grants, as they all came in at the last meeting, and trying to get them out of here because some of them are time sensitive. So we'll go right down it, and there'll be a meeting. Hopefully we'll schedule one for the following week to take on the other stuff, which was police cars and everything else. Okay. All right. With that, first one, make a motion to move item number 1 or agenda number 1 from the table. All is in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? This is in order that an acceptance in accordance to Chapter 44, Section 53A, the City Council hereby accept the New England Scenic Trail grant, which is $15,889.
Handouts here for you. I'm handing out pictures of the site, a brief sketch of where the trail most likely will go with the photograph. Then there's going to be a map that shows you sort of the historical property ownership patterns in the area. And as soon as I hand those out, I'll give you a spiel on what I'm asking for today.
Thanks.
All right. We'll go over there. All right. So my name is Andrew Smith. So what you have in front of you today, it's a grant that's been provided by the Department of Conservation and Recreation's Recreational Trails Program, which is a pretty competitive grant that funds improvements for pedestrian, bike, horse, and ATV activities around the state. So just a brief refresher, the map that you see in front of you does show the location of a couple of parcels. There's the two parcels on Mountain Road that might be developed into housing lots. There's the 10-acre parcel that was given to the Conservation Commission in 2011 as part of the cleanup activities on Mountain Road. There's also the pink parcel, which is the former Berge land, which used to belong to the Connecticut River Watershed Council and was transferred to the Mass Wildlife this past year. And one of the conditions of the transfer was that the Connecticut River Watershed Council grant to the city an easement to construct a trail across the land. That was accepted, I believe, in the spring of 2015. That easement was accepted by City Council. And it's actually a pretty cool thing to have because Mass Wildlife doesn't have any easements for hiking trails on any of its properties except this one right here. So it's kind of just from a negotiating standpoint, it's the only one of its kind in the state, which is pretty cool. So sort of brief framework. So the pink one that you see, that's the Berge tract that belongs to Mass Wildlife. That's about 24 acres. The 4 acres, those belong to HEDIC, and the 15 acres belongs to the Conservation Commission. So most of it belongs to the city of Holyoke. So where are we? We're on Mountain Road, which is West Holyoke. It's an undeveloped tract of land next to Side Hills Farm on Mountain Road. So the easement was accepted in 2015 with the goal of applying for grant funding for constructing a trail. So in the winter of 2015, 2016, the CONSCOM applied to DCR Recreational Trails Program for about $13,000 in materials to build a trail that will do the following. It'll connect to an existing trail. There's already an informal trail network out there that goes from Mountain Road across Broad Brook and hooks a left and goes up the mountain range. So what this one would do is instead of hooking left, it would hook right, cut through the forest for a little bit, and then at a certain point it would reconnect with an historical, it's a stone sort of 4 to 6 foot wide path that is pretty well established and goes up the slope of East Mountain. And once you get to the top of East Mountain, there's a really nice overlook. And from that point, it would be networked into the the New England Scenic Trail, which is, we used to be called the M&M Trail. So there's a lot of just making connections in this location. Once it's constructed, it would provide a 1 mile walk from Mountain Road up to the view and back, and it's a really nice view. It would be a good amenity for people in West Holyoke. So the funds are for two bog bridge crossings, 1 footbridge, a scenic kiosk, some trailblazing, and a scenic bench. So it's a good thing that the funding has been provided. Everything is contingent to City Council approval, of course, but it is pretty competitive, and it's a nice feather in the cap. So the funds don't expire until 2018, and just want to reiterate, this is the same land that the Mountain Road cleanup activities are currently occurring on. So that's where we are on this proposal that's in front of you, and there's been no movement on selling the land. There has been a CDBG grant for $60,000 that was awarded to finalize cleanup of the remaining contaminated parcel section of the parcel, which is the remaining land that belongs to the Conservation Commission. Has about 2 to 3 dump trucks worth of contaminated lead soils that need to be removed in order for the site to be cleaned up. So that funding has been provided, and what removal would allow is for the site to be closed out. No more compliance fees with DEP. Right now, compliance fees are roughly $5,000 a year, so you take that off of the sort of liabilities column, and you. I'm not involved in the sale or marketing of the land, but I think the goal would be to someday for those two acre lots to be developed into some form of housing. But I know that those can't be sold until the land is cleaned up. So the trail would happen after the cleanup activities, obviously, right? And it has to happen around periods of time of year when rare snakes are not active. So I guess I'm here to answer any questions, and with luck, receive approval to accept the funds and proceed to get a trail built.
Any questions from anyone? Do you start on then, Linda?
Andrew, who's gonna own the trail after it's finished, and who's gonna who's gonna do the maintenance after?
So it would be I guess the city. So the Conservation Commission would have to be responsible for ownership and maintenance. And
liability also?
Liabilities are interesting category, because in Massachusetts, if you allow recreational trail usage across your property, you're exempt under Mass General Law from being sued for that use. So it's technically a rough natural surface trail, so it's not going to be, there's not going to be any pea stone, you're not going to have any gravel, it's just going to be a rough natural trail.
Yep, sure. I know that I saw over here parking, but
potentially, maybe, that's sort of like it would be nice if we could convince the people who are buying the house lots to allow a little bit of parking for people, so that's going to be something that I'm going to ask for going forward, but
good luck.
It would be nice, right? I mean, it would be good for multiple reasons, but who knows what people's expectations are. So,
Linda?
Well, my question was the parking one. I was wondering where that parking was.
So I think this land itself is interesting because it's been used for storage of DPW, sort of like road sweepings, or not road sweepings. I guess in the 70s and 80s when they would mill pavement, sometimes it would go up there. That's considered inert. The whole thing's been studied a million times with LSP, and everything's been tested within an inch of its life. So if anything's hazardous, it's been identified. But there is like a sort of flat turnoff area from when they used to turn around to dump the stuff from road projects. It would be nice just to carve out like 1 or 2 spaces in the first couple hundred feet. But it's not something that I'm like, it must happen. It's going to be like, I'm going to push for it and appeal to people's better natures of civic duty, and maybe that'll prevail. That's my goal.
Well, just looking at the map, because the blue area extends all the way out to the road, and then so does the pink, it looks like there's an easement
For which? Oh, so the blue area that you're looking at, it actually has frontage. It has so the Conservation Commission's land has frontage on Mountain Road, so that there could be access no matter what.
So is it feasible that cars could come in through that easement and park further in? Or no?
I don't know.
I'm
Based upon the slope and the topography and like the long-term goal, you know. I think if it's a choice between building a trail or building a parking lot, I would always go with building the trail and scrapping the parking lot. So,
right. So, but I mean, just because I understand all the issues out on Mountain Road with cars and horses and competing interests, I'm just trying to figure out where the people would park that would be using this trail, because you can't park on Mountain Road.
no, of course not. No, that's not allowed.
That is a disaster waiting to happen. So I'm just wondering about the practicality of it. I mean, I love the idea of there being these kind of trails, but I'm getting calls every week from that road with speeding and traffic and issues.
So you're thinking about the long-term parking
Yeah, I'm
needs.
just, right, because people want to use these things, and then as they become more popular, it's where will they be?
So here's what I envision. So the 4-acre lots, the 2 4-acre lots, everything within that envelope of buildable lot, Mass Wildlife has to review even like the location of the building themselves. So I'm hoping that through the negotiation of building on a piece of property that is subject to heavy review from Mass Wildlife, there can be this sort of give and take where somebody could say, yeah, okay, I'm going to provide some parking for the public in this little section of my property. Get off my back, Mass Wildlife. That's kind of my hope that during the back and forth negotiations that we can pull that off. And there is a gravel turnoff area that is kind of hard packed. So that's my goal.
Okay, thank you.
Will it work? I hope. Peter?
Thanks, Andrew, for coming down. My question is the soil. You talked about the soil, the contaminated soil that has to be taken out before you can do this. You said there's money provided for that, and that's
Correct. Yeah.
that has to be done before you start the trail.
Yeah, and this is the 3rd round of cleanup on the property. There have been 2 separate EPA brownfields funds for cleaning it up, and what you have left over is just a little sliver where basically they used to fire, it's a firing range into the woods, and they cleaned up where most of the stuff went to. They haven't cleaned up where everybody was firing from yet. So that's the remaining action that needs to take place.
And you said it was a couple loads?
$60,000 worth of funding has been provided, and I've seen it's 3 to 4 inches down for the equivalent of 1 to 3 dump trucks based upon, so that would be 45 cubic yards total.
How long would that take to get that cleaned up?
Permitting part and the approval part with EPA and everybody else will take longer than the actual work. Once they do the work, that would take a week to 2 weeks, because they don't have to do any stream crossings. In the past, they had to do stream crossings, which was like a separate Army Corps permit approval process, but this is all before you get to the stream. So that is actually going to be the shortest part of the work. I'll spend more time reviewing the contracts than I will overseeing the person who does the work.
Thank you.
Just real quick, what's the money going to cover again? I have 2 bridges, a kiosk, a bench, trail. Was there a footbridge you said? Or?
Footbridge. So here we have construction for 2 wetlands crossings, blazing, which is trailblazing, kiosks, a scenic bench, selective pruning with hand tools, that would be volunteers, and there is a little sort of a contingency of $1,800 for like if a tree is in the way, removing 1 tree. I don't want to remove any trees, but that's just like just in case. And those are all developed according to Mass DOT contract.
One last one is in the letter from Leo Roy, the commissioner. Given that some time has passed since you submitted your application, please take a look at your project scope and budget, including the minimum 20% match required.
Correct. So we have the Appalachian Mountain Club is going to provide some volunteers to help build this trail. because it fits into the overall goal of increasing use of the New England Scenic Trail. So they did provide a letter of commitment for that, and volunteers will be provided through the Conservation Commission. I signed them all up as something to do for the weekend. So, and then there's also local internal sort of like contract management. So everything's done labor in kind. It's all in kind labor.
Any other questions, Linda? Yep.
So with the parking problem and the fact that the trail will connect to the New England Scenic Trail,
Correct.
if there isn't parking available there, then people could access it by entering the trail at some of the other portions of the trail where there is parking. So it would become the terminal part of the trail at that point? Would that be the alternative?
Yes, there is parking up on West Cherry Street over by the Revolver Club. They do allow parking. There's some parking down on Westfield Road also.
So that would be a way that we could manage it?
Yes.
Okay.
I hope it's not a deal breaker to think about parking, but right now there is parking that's available, and I think the goal would be to provide it on site. So within that carve out of those 2-acre lots.
I guess that'll depend how the city markets the lots.
Yes. Which, I mean,
Right.
who doesn't want to live next to a nice hiking trail? I mean, it's like, who doesn't want
Just
to?
parking in your backyard.
Yeah, I mean,
All right, any other questions?
I do.
Hey, Jimmy?
I apologize for coming in late. Soccer game. I never thought I'd be spending 20 minutes talking about a hiking trail. However, how long is this trail?
it's a total of 1 mile from start to finish. So if you parked on Mountain Road or walked from your house on Mountain Road, it would be a 1 mile up to the scenic overlook and 1 mile back.
New trail?
It would be new, correct?
Are there other trails?
The New England Scenic Trail is at the top of the East Mountain Range there. So it would kind of network into a system of other trails.
All right, so this isn't costing us any money. All the in-kind, it's going to be an in-kind contribution from 20%, all right?
Correct.
I'll make a motion we pass this.
Second. Is there any other questions? So the motion is to approve, and it was seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay, it passed. Thanks.
Make a motion to remove item number 2 from the agenda.
So
All
moved.
those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Order that the city accept Chapter 4453A, the provisions of the Memorial Local Grant. Is anyone here for this one? The Brine? Burn.
Burn.
Burn, yeah.
Yeah, that's for the police.
Yeah.
35,400. So move from the table. We said all in favor. All
Aye.
opposed. All right. This is the JAG program. And what does this cover again?
Excuse me, what was that again?
A little bit about the grant. What's
Oh,
going on?
yeah, it's annual justice assistance grant that we get each year. And this year it's for our radio communications, as well as a forensic camera that we're looking to purchase, and also equipment for our simunition training.
Yeah, Jimmy?
So exactly, what's this going to do with the telecommunications? Because right now your radio system, the police department, not only is there dead spots throughout the city, it just shuts off. I've heard multiple police officers that they don't feel safe with this type of operating now. What's this grant going to do for that?
Well, right now, basically this grant is just a Band-Aid, really, to Communications. We're currently working with the Fire Department, DPW, Parks and Rec, and the Auxiliary Police Department to get a whole new infrastructure for all departments. And we're looking forward to getting some quotes and bringing it before you, hopefully soon, before the end of the year.
Is there a match to this one?
No, there's no match.
Matches for
No.
money?
Yes.
Yep.
My last question, how come you don't have any proposals in front of us now for, I mean, Chief Scott's been talking about this. I don't know how long ago he was talking, but he was talking about it a lot throughout the community. God forbid there's a police officer and can't get help because the radio's down. That's a huge liability. That's known. So what a huge lawsuit to the city of Hoyoke that will be.
Right. Like I said, we're working tirelessly to get a quote. We're looking to get a couple of different vendors, and it takes time for those vendors to go out in the field and test the microwaves in all different areas to see what coverage is available and frequencies. So there's a lot of work involved. And
you said that will be done by the end of this month?
Yeah, we're looking the end of this year. We're looking to bring forward a final proposal.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Linda?
Motion to accept the grant.
The motion is to accept. It was seconded. No other questions. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Easier than getting a trail passed.
Yeah.
Go park your car on Mountain Road and see how well you do.
I've done it many times.
Motion to move item agenda number 3. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Acceptance of the provisions of the State Homeland Security Grant. Is there anyone here for that one?
Back again.
Come on back again. You don't get to run that quick.
The price is right.
That's another grant. However, that one's, I believe, is through MEMA, Massachusetts Emergency Management, and that one is for, I think, a little over $3,000, and which the auxiliaries applied for, and they're looking to purchase radios with that grant as well. Portable
Oh, so
radios.
for the auxiliary police.
Any match?
No, no match.
Make a motion to pass it. Second.
How many radios do they get with 3,000?
I think with the 3,000, maybe 2.
2 radios.
Like I said, Band-Aids, you know, we're getting
Getting
it.
it from
So.
Steve Jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah, 3,500. No match. Okay, so 3,500 gets us 2 radios. All right. Is there any other questions regarding this one? This one they've asked for before, but this is last year. I don't think the grant came in or something, because I remember they brought it up to me and we never received it. So, but this is it's here now. So, any questions? Motion.
Accept the grant?
Motion is to accept. Seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Make a motion to remove from the agenda item number 4.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Accept the provisions of the Assistance to Firefighters Grant.
Second. Thank you.
Good evening. Can you tell us a little bit about this?
As you know, thank you for having us here. We're very excited about this grant. It's $195,000 to purchase personal protective equipment for our firefighters. When the grant was written, it was for 50 complete sets of, we call it turnout gear. I'm sure everybody's familiar with that term. It encompasses the helmet, a hood, the coat, the pants, the boots, and the suspenders for 50 firefighters. There is a 10% match for this grant. There's a fire hood that you put up over to protect your ears. There is a 10% match for this grant, So the grand total of the grant is $177,273 from FEMA, and the city's match is $17,727. And when the grant was written, it's written under NFPA 1851, which says that all turnout gear must be replaced or should be replaced after 10 years of service. So when the grant was written, at that point in time, we had 50 sets of turnout gear that needed to be replaced. So it's really important for us to get this money now.
Need a motion to pass it.
I have a question.
Yep.
Thank you.
First on the motion, Councilor Lopez.
I'll second the motion, but I just want to find out from where the matching. You have it.
It would have to come out of free cash.
Here's my question on that. For free cash, do we have a request in for the 17,000? Free
I do
cash
not.
hasn't been certified.
Bellamy.
So Bellamy, nothing. So I guess my question. I mean, procedurally, we accept the grant. We're going to have to put in the city's share. Is there an issue with accepting it now when free cash hasn't been certified? No issue with that.
No, I don't think so, because I think there are other possible sources of money too. We might be able to find some.
No, I just want to make sure. I mean, I don't think anyone up here disagrees with the grant or is not going to vote for it. It's more of making sure procedurally we don't mess it up and lose it.
I would say because there are other possible sources of money, and it's not the only place we can go is free cash, which we don't know whether we have any or not.
Right.
I think it would be fair to accept.
It's okay. It's okay to accept.
Scramble for the money when the time comes.
Okay. No, just getting that on the record.
Thank you.
Peter?
Yeah, Chief, thanks for coming down. I know this is very important because I talked to several of the firefighters that need this change out and every so many years, you know, for the protection of the firefighters and fighting the fires. Is there a timeline where you have to, it seems like it was about, I remember reading about this about a month ago, and it was in the paper that, oh, we got the grant and everything, and my concern was the money too, the match, because I knew there was a slight match.
Right.
Is there a timeline where you have to have this accepted?
It's supposed to be accepted within 30 days when we receive the grant. We've already exceeded that time limit. I requested an extension of 30 additional days in order to come before the City Council for
right.
approval, and that was granted. So I'd like to get it approved tonight to go online and accept it officially.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the chief? No, the motion was to approve. That was seconded. All is in favor?
Aye.
All is opposed?
Before you go out, when you gonna get the equipment? I mean, that's it's gonna be a year, 2 years, 3, 4.
We've already started to measure. Somebody comes in and measures each firefighter that's going to fit in their gear. We've already begun that process. So, good question. Thank you.
Thank you.
So make a motion, move from the table. Item number 5.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed? This is the NEH teaching grant. You guys have another one, or are we missing it? Okay.
I apologize. I didn't want to speak out of turn, but as you know, we also received a SAFER grant for $1,245,940 to hire 10 firefighters for 2 years, full salary and benefits. That will be before the City Council tonight, and I'm sure, you know, the usual procedures to kick it down to finance and then back up. Just wondering if I could answer questions now or stay for City Council meeting and answer questions then and try to get it
I'll answer that
approved.
for you. You'll have to stay for the City Council meeting tonight.
Okay.
If it's not on the agenda, we cannot bring it up and discuss it, and we haven't even received it yet as a city, as a full city. To speak about it would be outside the rules.
Okay.
I understand you're doing it, and I'd love to, so I'm going to ask you to please stick around for the meeting. I have told Ms. Devine that I will make a motion, pursuant to everyone else accepting it, to take you up right away. And then that way we'll try and do it. If they want to kick it to committee, that can happen. I'll let you know that if you stick around, I'll make the motion to allow you to try and come up and talk about it.
Thank you.
Okay.
And the same thing, it's a 30-day grant
30 days,
process.
okay.
Yes, we're already a week into it.
Did you have a question? I'm sorry I had to cut you off. I just wanted to make sure procedurally we...
I'll ask questions later. Why can't we have time to have this go into committee? So I do have questions like the COPS grant that happened in Springfield, and that really tore Springfield
All
This-
right, we'll
yeah.
have to take it up at the meeting. Yeah.
We can talk. I got it.
He's just giving me the heads-up question.
That's up, yeah.
All right, so
I don't want to hear that.
Retirement.
so now we're back to item number 5, which is the NEH teaching grant. Move from the table. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? And this is for Wisteria Hearst.
So this is $123,768 to implement 2 weeks of teaching institutes in August of 2017, using the landscape of Holyoke and the infrastructure of Holyoke to teach local history and connect it to history at a national scale.
All right, so let's see here. Landmark American history, cultural teachers. Each teaching institute will have space available for 36 teachers free of charge. So can you explain exactly what it's going to be teaching, who's getting taught, all that
Sure.
type of stuff? A
Yep.
little more detail.
So it's 2 one-week institutes, and the first week, as we wrote it, is all for local teachers. And as it says, it would be free of cost. So the bulk of this grant is actually stipends for any teacher participating. We would be focusing on case study individuals from Holyoke history, and it is women in history, women making change at the turn of the 20th century. So we're looking at Belle and Catherine Skinner, Elizabeth Town, and Anna Sullivan, kind of looking at the ways that people were using their social status, using their relative power to make change in this community, but also reflective of change that was happening across the country. The second week would be teachers from all across the country. It would still be open to local teachers, and we did hope that the majority of teachers utilizing this institute would be local, but that will also, open up using Holyoke's history, kind of amplifying it across the country, having teachers leave Massachusetts, knowing a little bit more about our background, about the background of Industrial Revolution and planned industrial cities. We did participate as a partner in one of these institutes last year, and the reason we applied was we got a lot of good feedback from that national audience that they really enjoyed Holyoke. They really enjoyed the places we took them to, and particularly the Wisteria Hearst component, which was a full day of that institute.
So with regards to it, we accept the 123. There's 2 weeks of training versus for local teachers. Have we talked to the school department as to bringing them in, or is it colleges?
It's this local school department. It's K through 12 teachers. We focused on kind of a 4th through 7th grade audience, but it'll be open to anyone. And actually written into the grant is a stipend for a school department employee to be a consultant on that project and to help us align it to the curriculum goals within the city.
And have we reached out to the school department? They are fully aware of this?
Yes. We have letters of commitment, and there's some new staff that I need to bring the details of it to, but I've certainly made them all aware of it. And again, we've had some teachers actively participating in the writing of the grant and the design of the grant.
Okay. Any questions? No match. It's
No match, no.
clear as day. I like this form. It's easier to find on this one. It's right there. $0. Some other forms, it's so small. You're like, is there a match or not? So yeah, this one, if you can get more of these, I prefer it.
That's what we're aiming to do.
Yeah. No, this is great, and everything's going to be done at Wisteria Hearst, or you said you're roaming around.
We're the home base, yeah. So actually, the library Holyoke History Room has been written in as a partner as well, and we're using a couple of the mill owners have given us permission to take tours. Everything is really Holyoke based. We've already booked. Which we can cancel, but we booked spaces at the Holyoke Homewood Suites for anyone from out of town. So the idea that we pitched to NEH was using the whole city as a campus.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Thank you. There's no questions. Is there a motion?
Make a motion to accept the grant.
The motion is to accept and approve. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Yeah, thank you very much.
motion to remove item number 6 from the agenda.
So
All those
moved.
in favor? All those opposed?
Aye.
This is the electronic permitting system.
No, planning.
Permitting, it says.
Permitting. What we all, whoever here is for the grant, you know what it's for? Anyone?
Eileen was supposed to be here for that, but I'll try, but I'm not really. Eileen Cooler, who's our IT person. I can try because it also ties into the grant that I'm going to be talking about later.
Which is number 7.
I don't have the agenda, I just know.
I got
Yes,
financial
I was jumping ahead.
forecasting and
Financial
capital
That's
planning.
7.
That's what you're here for?
Oh.
Okay, so but they're kind of tied together.
I'll try to talk to number 6 if that helps.
All right, so we'll do 6, and then you can just keep sitting there. So come on in, take a seat, please. So right now it's the permitting grant.
Yeah. Both of these grants, 6 and 7, are an outgrowth of an initiative by the Baker administration. In the early days of Governor Baker, he established something called the Community Compact, I believe is what it is. I'm assuming you all are familiar with this. But really it was an effort to promote efficiency in the local governments of the state, primarily by sharing of best practices, but also by trying to get communities to adopt more use of more sophisticated information technology. About 3/4 of the cities and towns in Massachusetts signed on to this compact. So that in turn entitles us to get some help from the state in identifying and solving some of the problems. With regard to electronic permitting, as I said, that's an IT initiative. My understanding is that the purpose is to sort of have one-stop shopping for people who are coming to the city to get permits, instead of having to fill out a separate form for an electrical permit and then for a gas permit and then for a building permit. You go to this computer, put all your information in once, you know, your name, your address, your phone, all that kind of stuff, and then you can push various buttons and say send it to the one department or the other. So it's an effort to streamline and modernize the permitting system, and that is the extent of my knowledge on that subject. You can try to ask questions. I'll try to answer them, but I'm not an expert on that one.
What is that?
So it says the community's been awarded $48,975. It was a competitive grant of $2 million available out there, so we're getting that portion.
And I believe the money is to buy software. That's what.
So
see what it says.
The scope of the project to fund the EOAF grant will include implementing an electronic permitting system, which will integrate with the rest of the city's systems. Does understand agree with the grant? So I guess. So if we take the 48,000.
Yes.
Just call it 49. We have to set up a new system, or is this just for training?
No, it's for the software itself.
So we're buying the software.
We're buying some kind of software package that will do this. So we're buying and implementing a software package.
So it's to buy software.
My
How much is it to upgrade it each and every year?
That I don't know. I know nothing about. We're now going beyond my depth in this one. Linda.
Linda, go ahead.
Thanks.
Sorry.
And it's talking about integrating it into our current system, which would be Munis.
Right.
And do we even know if they're compatible? I think we need the IT people.
Sure, go ahead, Dio.
Do we have a timetable by when do we have to approve it?
I don't know. This was not my expertise, so I have told you what I know, but I don't know.
Yeah, what we'll do is, I mean, the second time it'll be tabled as to what it is.
And just to follow up,
Go ahead, Linda.
I mean, we have a lot of software that the city has bought and we're supporting that we're not even using. So I want to make sure.
So is this another ongoing cost?
I know
in
it's
the
a
future?
grant, but then it'll be a future cost, and I want to make sure we can use it.
Yeah. See, I don't.
That it
I don't,
will integrate.
This might be this might be Munis software that's an add-on, but I just don't know.
Right.
and I wish I knew that.
All right, so. Well, we thank you for the help.
Yeah, right. Yeah. At least I gave you an introduction to it.
We appreciate
Now you can ask good questions next time.
Next time, yeah.
Like, we know more now.
If she shows up, it's the second time.
All right, so motion is to table. It was seconded.
Next time I'll find out the answers and I'll show up again, but I'll know the answers.
That's right.
No.
All right, so all is in favor? All
Aye.
opposed? So it's tabled again. Then the last one, make a motion move from the table, item number 7, which is your grant.
Yeah. Again, this was part of the Baker Community Compact. This was something that was offered to us by the Baker administration. We had asked for some help in education for the schools, but once the schools went into receivership, they said, well, we can't really give you that help. Why don't you take this instead? So I guess what they're trying to promulgate is more sophistication in budgeting and financial planning across the state. So this is a two-part grant. Part of it is to show us best practices in doing capital budgeting, something that we don't seem to really do much of. And then second, look at best practices in doing long-range financial planning, something we do nothing of. The idea is to use the Collins Center from the University of Massachusetts, who've worked with a number of communities across the state on this topic. So apparently they have a wealth of knowledge, and they're willing to share this with us. There's no match. I thought I'd throw that in.
Yeah, that was like the last breath. Because
I knew that's what you're looking for, Todd.
Now, okay, so when we accept the grant, we're going to receive training. Who's getting the training?
We're going to receive. They're going to show us models of how to do things, and then if we decide to adopt the models, I guess they'll train me or others in how to do it. But it's really more about the models, the models, the financial models themselves, for budgeting or for capital or for capital planning or for long range budgeting.
Yeah, and it's so amount not to exceed 40,000. So we're
Correct.
getting 40,000.
Well, we'll get up to $40,000. Yeah. So we won't spend more than that.
And then it says 75%. Or 30,000 to be 45 days, 10,000 after another 45 days. So I guess what I'm trying to think is we're going to get 40,000, and then we're giving it over to UMass for this type of training, and they'll give us.
In theory, we purchase the consulting advice from UMass. Yes, they're the vendor, shall we say? And they show us models, and we say. We like
that one,
or we don't like, or
we don't like.
Yeah.
We say, I want number 1. I like number 1 model. Now, is this going to cover taking on that model, or we have to pay any other costs, or is it just?
No, that should be work the auditor does.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
No, it's not. It's not like it's a computer program or anything.
So it's just for consulting fees, which then, if you like some stuff that's going to help you, then you'll go with it. Any other questions?
I'll make a motion to accept.
A second.
Okay, so the motion is to approve. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? As always, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, motion to adjourn.
All right.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those
Aye.
opposed? All right, so for